Welcome back to Season 4 of Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast show of comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and while I may still be in the studio, the rest of my team is enjoying some well-deserved home rest time. And today I have with me my regular co-host, Matthew Aguilar.
What's up, everybody?
Janelle Wheeler.
Hi, guys.
And joining us from the comic book staff, one of our greatest, Mr. Spencer Perry, is here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And yeah, Spencer's here because he is he's one of the rare people who I think was like around at the time in the industry too, when we all had to go through Avatar the first time. I believe back then you were at Coming Soon.
No, and, back then I was still in college.
Really? Okay,
yeah,
so you came on the scene after Avatar, like yeah.
But I've spent the whole time writing about Avatar too.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I forget what like Gen 1 blogosphere, like what the timeline was for those 2010s era. Now we have to deal with all these Gen 2 and 3 kids and YouTube and whatnot. But that's another story for another podcast. So
their YouTube.
Wow. But Spencer is here with me because we both got to go out and see Avatar: The Way of Water on the in 3D on the big screen. So we are going to talk about that because, of course, there is that small milestone of that movie being released today. And we thought we'd get to ranking our favorite movies this week as a follow-up to us ranking our favorite TV shows and comics like we did last week and had a lot of fun with. But unfortunately, there's no sleep over there at DC Studios. And so once again, our whole show got hijacked late game by the unfolding drama in the DC universe, which we must now go over again for the latest updates. So this is just slowly turning into like fall Crisis on Infinite DC Studios podcast. But
oh my God, they are in their own. They're having their own final crisis.
Yeah,
because
right?
the last shakeup was Infinite. And the first one was Crisis on Infinite Earths. Oh my God. Then next we're in for a dark crisis.
Yeah.
It's coming.
But yeah, but first, on a lighter note, at first, we got some fun things to talk about. We got two big trailers this week that we want to highlight. The first just is coming in hot just this morning and showing in theaters before Avatar, which is the Barbie movie has released its first teaser trailer. So we have the first Barbie teaser trailer. This is the film. This is Barbie, but it's being done by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, who's also kind of making some noise again this year from, Noah Baumbach, Squid and the Whale, Greta Gerwig from Lady Bird and other films, Little Women, have come together, an unusual team to come together for a Barbie movie. We all heard about this. Margot Robbie is very big. She's starring in a project, producing.
She's literally very big right now.
Yeah, I know. Right on screen if you're watching, yes. And we all wondered, like, what the hell is this Barbie movie going to be? Because we all thought there's going to be some kind of maybe satirical or kind of edge to it. But this first trailer I don't think anybody expected it to go down like this. But I very much enjoyed it. And I've seen a lot of online hype of people, even guys being like, I didn't think I'd be this excited for like a piece of Barbie cinema. But here we are. And that's very much what it's like. I mean, this first teaser is playing an ode to Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, if you don't get the reference. And the kind of, if you know that movie, it's about, it starts with primordial, not man, but like beings, half ape, half men, discovering this strange monolith. And, they play the music that you hear playing in this trailer. And this time it's for little girls and the concept of playing with dolls and how Barbie came along and completely, changed that paradigm. And it's a whole lot of symbolism, but it just the way it's filmed, the music, the ode to 2001, and then using Margot Robbie's kind of, classic movie star, looks and persona in playing with the whole kind of Barbie image. So far, I'm just liking the kind of intelligence I see in this. And like I said, the artistry I kind of see in this. And just the set, when we get the larger kind of sizzle reel, the set pieces, the actors like Ryan Gosling, I think, is that Issa Rae I saw in there? Yeah. Simu Liu from Shang-Chi. It just looks like this is going to be a movie to see. And this was a really great teaser. So that's my opinion. I'll throw it out there. let's jump to the most qualified person to talk about this on the set. Matt, what did you think about this?
Wow. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to take that. I don't know how to take that. But here's the thing. I adored it. I thought it was amazing. I was all in on this. I thought it was just so not at all what I was expecting. But then again, they've kind of teased that it was going to be something special. It's going to be something different. So I'm in, man. I'm in on the Barbie movie. I'm very excited. Anissa was not feeling this, I will say. She was not feeling this trailer, but I came in just like all over the place with energy on this. So I loved it. I thought it was so fun.
As Bill says in the comments, would you say you had big doll energy that you got from this?
I did. I have a big doll energy. Yeah, I go with that. I think this looks super fun. And also it does look like it's going to have, very much a little bit of meta-ness to it. So I think that's the perfect recipe. Janelle, what'd you think?
I am so excited. I think the reason why Anissa might have beefed with it is because as a little girl, gender norms were different back then. We kind of had to play with dolls as chicks, and I would like sneak Legos and like G.I. Joes from my cousin. But I feel like you were either a baby doll girl or a Barbie girl. Like the girls that always wanted to be moms, like they loved their baby dolls. I was like, I don't want to be a mom. I want to be a Malibu girl in a bikini, like as a little girl. So I was a Barbie girl. Like, as a matter of fact, I had like gem Barbies. So that might be why. I don't know. But you have to be okay with it being irreverent. Like nothing is safe from our childhood anymore. Like everything's going to be made into something. And I feel like they're going to do a great job with this. I'm all about it. And I love the sex appeal. I'm obsessed with Margot Robbie. She's so hot. And yeah, I feel like this is like made for me. I'm so pumped. I'm actually the least excited about Gosling's Ken. Like, I'm like, do we even need a Ken? Can we just like not do the Ken thing at all? But yeah, I'm excited. I also love the Tyra Banks Barbie thing too, by the way, from back in the day. So
sure. Yeah.
That was great. There's a Christmas one too. So I'm watching that.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer. Yeah, let's get Spencer because Spencer, this is the beginning of a whole Margot Robbie segment you and I are going to be on today. So might as well add this one.
Yeah. What I love about this trailer is that the fact that it's playing before Avatar and the fact that it's doing a riff on 2001 that's for the grown-ups to see. That's for the grown-ups that's a message to the parents in the audience saying, we know you're coming. This won't be a chore to sit through. This will be fun. This will be irreverent. This will be for everyone. Everyone in your family will find something to like about this. I love that. I love that shot. The girl with the glasses looking up. That's so funny. But this is a genius teaser trailer. Not only because of the iconography of Barbie compared with the monolith from 2001, but the fact that it's, the first half is them being like, you can watch this and enjoy it, and the second half is just, pop imagery, which just. It looks amazing, especially because Greta Gerwig's never really had like this big of a canvas as a filmmaker. So it'll be fun to see like, big colors and costumes and dance numbers and set pieces like that. So I'm all in.
Yeah. And I think there is a lot of sly things that we can already pick out about what this movie is going to both honor Barbie, but also be slightly like kind of critical of the Barbie effect. I think the girl with the glasses looking up and starting to get, I think they're going to come back to that idea, like this girl thinking like having to compare herself to like a Margot Robbie type. I think Margot Robbie is very sly about how to use her image, as we're going to, once again, me and Spencer will go on an entire tangent about this later in the show because when we review something, but also that the cast has this diverse lineup of people in it is obviously kind of a signal that they're going to address what some of that and how it compares to, the Barbie fantasy versus like the reality and all this stuff and who it should appeal to. So I like that they're going to do both things at once, which is ambitious. As Spencer said, it was a signal like, yes, this is going to be fun for like the whole family and probably reintroduce Barbie to a whole new generation of kids, but it's also going to have some kind of sly, smart things in it that for adults and stuff and older people to kind of, or even kids to consider. So
Well, I think
I was surprised by this trailer.
I think that's also true of like the brand overall. I think
Yeah.
that at a different time, like I don't think Anissa, I'd have to ask her like point blank, but I don't think Anissa was ever like huge into Barbie because of some of those things, some of those stereotypes and things like that that Janelle mentioned. And
But
also
the stereotypes are with babies, making
Right, but, like,
women,
right.
little girls play with babies as moms. Like that's
right,
all
but
we're
like
good for is being
now
moms.
raising a little girl, I
Yeah.
want her to like, there was a little bit of like, if I had let's say we had Ember 10 years ago instead of now, and the Barbie line looked a lot different. It was all white. And it was mostly white, and it was mostly like, hey, we're gonna be like surfers and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. And like if you look at it now, it's very like multicultural, it's very diverse, it's actually very like we want all of the dolls to be in all kinds of different positions in work life and stuff like that.
Barbie.
It's changed. Yeah, it's changed a lot. And so there's not that necessarily kind of that little bit of that barrier that there would have been. And so I think the brand overall has come a long way. So I think this is actually a very, very like perfect timing for this kind of movie.
I was playing with Barbies in the 80s, and there were singers and there were nurses and there were teachers and there were like lots of different jobs. I feel like people just don't know because they didn't play with Barbies. I feel like a lot of people who criticize Barbies because they literally didn't play with it and they don't know.
Well, right, but did they all look like me?
Yeah, no, I grew up with two female. I was very close.
I don't think so.
Yeah. No, I grew up with female cousins.
I played with superheroes too. So don't worry. I was playing with Batman as well.
No, it's not about that. She likes trucks as much as she likes whatever. Like I don't care about that.
Can you guys hear me? Time out. I just want to say, I grew up. Okay, I grew up in the 80s with two female cousins who were both, women of color, and I can tell you that it wasn't the easiest thing. Getting Black Barbie presents was it was tough. It wasn't easy. There was.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like they're forcing, the baby doll thing. Like I hate it. My mom gave me a baby doll and I'm like, I don't want to be a mom. Like, please stop. Like, I don't want to carry around a baby and pretend I'm a mommy. Like, that's not what I want to do.
Well, that's why the opening of the trailer works. That's what it's saying.
Exactly. That's why I love the trailer.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting a baby doll. And I would say the same thing about the baby doll side. It was also ridiculously hard to find. Like the baby doll side looked just as one note as the Barbie side. So I think both have come a long way. And I don't think there's anything wrong with either one. I'm just saying as a brand, Barbie has expanded. I was trying to give it credit. Barbie has expanded a lot over the last 10 years. And so I think this is a perfect encapsulation of that, or it looks to be. We'll see what it.
And I think the movie is going to I think the movie, based on our conversation alone, is what this movie is going to tackle, is pretty much everything we just did in this conversation about why Barbie was significantly important as a divergence from the baby doll stuff, but while it may not have been perfect, but how it's changed and grown. And the Barbie character in this may even learn some of that stuff about her own place in the world as she goes in it. Like, and I think that enchanted element, right? Like if she has to face the real world and stuff like that, and how does that reshape Barbie herself, So I'm just interested to see that this is a teaser. And at the end, let's just go around. Are you interested to see? I am. Matt, are you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Janelle?
Yes.
And Spencer?
Yes, 100%.
All right, teaser work. We got it. On to Across the Spider-Verse. So next up was Across the Spider-Verse, the long-awaited kind of, I would say, fuller trailer than the initial teaser we got for the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And this second trailer, while it did, of course, also it was very kind of similar to Barbie in it's a slower part in the beginning and then a kind of sizzle reel of poppy imagery to get us all like excited. And so while I did and I was saying this in a comic book meeting the other day, I was like, I feel like the nature of our job makes us almost forced to kind of get so hyperbolically excited about every trailer that's released. But, I'm not going to spaz out about doing a slideshow or breaking down every little which Spider-Man characters were featured in that little montage. Yes, I care, but I don't care that much. What I loved about this trailer was it reminded us just how deeply like emotionally powerful the Into the Spider-Verse movie is, and how it can really kind of hit you in the feels really hard when it gets to centering on the central character of Miles Morales and, you know, his place in this story arc. So if you didn't watch it, it's online, but it's just a simple conversation between him and his mom at a point where it looks like he's feeling a little bit low. And yeah, that mom conversation again, people are just trying to mess with me. And that's another theme of today in the parenting feels, right? Now I have kids, and all these filmmakers I feel like are just sniping at my parenting emotions. But yeah, that was a great like little speech, you know, between mother and son. And it kind of shows you what the emotional core of this movie is. Because if you've heard anything about the premise, there's going to be some kind of inner conflict with Miles possibly not agreeing with this interdimensional council of Spider-Men and how they're approaching this problem. And so he might have to kind of step out on his own as a very distinct and unique Spider-Man who, you know, goes the other route. And so I think this scene could come back to be very important to that theme. And so I was looking for the big blockbuster wow from this, but you know, the emotional thing kind of caught me off guard, but I liked it. Oh, Janelle, what'd you think?
Oh my gosh, this is like so exciting. I did deep dive. I went into like New Rockstars and watched the entire breakdown of all the Easter eggs and everything.
Yes, don't mention them by name. Come on, that's the ops.
I love them. I love them so much.
The ops.
Yeah, I loved all of those little like nods and all of the stuff that you may have missed. There's a lot going on in this that you can't really like see. You have to really like pause it to kind of see all the different things that are going on. I will say that I don't know exactly what the story is about besides, you know, multiversal things and lots of different Spideys, but that is exactly what I want from this. So also it was really touching to have like the son and mother moment in the beginning. I really, really liked that. Like it spoke to me.
Spencer?
All right, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I think the thing that I'm most like looking at when I watched this trailer is, you know, what we loved about Into the Spider-Verse was how surprising it was, not only from a story perspective, but also just visually. It was so unique and unlike any other animated movie we'd ever seen. And I feel like a lot of this is reminding you, I mean, a good chunk of it is just footage from the first movie for one thing, but then another piece of it before things get crazy at the end is it looks similar to what we saw before. And then once the action really ramps up and he's going to these different universes and interacting with these other Spider-Men is when we get to see a taste of those new visuals and how it's going to differentiate itself even further from the first movie. So I guess, you know, this is technically a trailer, but that's what's exciting to me is the tease of what we're going to get visually when we go to these other pockets of Marvel and Spider-Man universes.
Yeah. No, I think you all said it best. Sorry, I was trying not to talk as much because I talked a lot during the Barbie segment. I was trying to bounce the scales a little bit. I will just say Jessica Drew. Can we just say Spider-Woman looked awesome?
Looks great,
oh my god, that was just dopeness in character form. Like I'm so excited. Like that looks. I can't wait for the toys. Like I'm so.
Was that Issa Rae again?
Yeah,
Issa
man.
Rae in both of the man. She ended that show at the right time.
And they went
She's
with
both
the
of
jacket. Oh, they went with the jacket, which I love. I love that look. They kind of riffed on that. This looks awesome. I love the animation style. Someone said, I think it was, it might have been Norin, but that like I could eat this animation like up just like completely. Yeah, I could eat this animation. It is so delicious. Norin is right. That's a great quote. So yeah, no, I'm stoked.
All right, and we do know more details. We know that the main villain of this film and the next film will be the Spot, who is, you know, right up there with Cardiac in terms of Marvel.
Hey.
It's actually like a perfect fit for this Spider-Verse franchise in that he's a person who stumbles onto this world between worlds of like portals and stuff, and he wears them on his body, and he can move all around through either just space or dimensions. And obviously, in a Spider-Verse saga, that's a pretty problematic power. So,
okay, Cardiac is totally cooler than the Spot.
He's also like a C-list Marvel villain in the sense that like they could use him in this movie and A, make him cool, but B, like there's no worries of a live action movie ever using that character.
Oh no, poor Matt.
Oh, no, we were talking about Spot, not Cardiac. That's definitely never happening. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's probably actually there's actually probably more of a chance.
Actually, you never know with Sony. Sony might run out of all ideas. They might have nothing. You know, Cardiac could be the main thing of
Cardiac
Madam
is
Web.
awesome. I will not tolerate all this Cardiac.
I mean, if Cardiac was like a if Cardiac was a Terminator character, Madam Web, I wouldn't be mad at that. You know,
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
he's such a layered character. Now, how dare you?
All right, we're getting off the track. We're getting off the track.
Matt, give me
All
a
right, we
Cardiac
gotta-
comic to read.
Oh boy, we got so much to do. We got to keep moving. All right, let's get to we're hopping the fence from all these movie trailers over back into the DC drama. I saw early on if somebody was saying they were just showing up to our podcast today to find out if The Flash is going to be on HBO Max or rebooted. I can get you out of here real quick. So you can get back to your day. Neither. It's still going to theaters. Right? Like that hasn't changed in the last 5 minutes, I don't think. I think The Flash is still going to theaters. Yeah, and as we said last week, there's just too much they hinged on that movie to back out now. It looks like you can't get out of that now. So as far as we know, right now, The Flash is still coming to theaters. So now this is Comic Book Nation. You can enjoy the rest of your day. All right, moving right along. Like I said, we thought we were going to have a nice, fun movie ranking episode. We really wanted to do that this week. We're pushing it off till next week. It'll be fun for Christmas, especially if more of you get to see Avatar and some of the other kind of because award seasons movies are also coming out, and we're going to start to talk about some of that. And so, yeah, we'll do movies next week because DC went nuts again. And here's where we're at now this week. Okay. So in our last episode of DC going down, and just remember, we are the show that predicted that DC was going to have this awesome year in 2022, and it seems like they're just going to beat us over the head for that until like the very last.
It started really high.
It really did.
Yeah, we had a lot of faith, but yeah. So anyway, let's get to it. So this week we learned that what's going to happen with Superman. Henry Cavill is done. There's no other way to say it. All right, like goodbye, Henry Cavill. Somebody, I think, was that you, Spencer, in the comic book? Or was that Patrick? I know you guys are kind of wicked with gifts, both of you, but somebody did the Grandpa Simpson coming into the whorehouse and immediately grabbing his hat and turning around and going back out the door, saying that's how Henry Cavill was with his brief return as Superman. Yeah. Oh, man. And so, yeah, Henry Cavill's done. His Superman line saga is done. There is going to be no Man of Steel 2. It's over. James Gunn is going to be the person directing a new Superman movie, which will be tied into the larger DCEU, sorry, but will be about a younger Superman apparently coming to Metropolis. And so obviously I'm sad. I was a Snyderverse bro, not a bro, but a Snyderverse fan, I guess, and I thought Henry Cavill was, a consummate gentleman for hanging in there all those years with I'm going to move on with my career, but never closing the door and keeping fans' hopes alive and thanking them and doing all that. And he deserved better than this. And I'm just hope now he steps away and really steps away. And if he ever comes back, it's for like a Kingdom Come movie. Like people are already saying in the comments, like down the line where they pay him a god awful amount just to show up and do that, because no more of those Black Adam appearances. Like, don't waste your time. Move on. He's got other things, and Matt's going to do a whole Henry Cavill segment later in the show, so we got that coming. But I'm sad about that, and I'll be honest, I love James Gunn and I love the Suicide Squad even, but this is not my personal pick of a person that I would have looked at as a Superman movie candidate. But I'm not going to go too off the cliff and say no, like not my Superman either. But that one was definitely a surprise. How are you guys feeling about it? Let's start with Spencer.
I mean, what I think is, I think his idea for a Superman movie is interesting. Not necessarily an origin, but like early days Clark working at the Daily Planet in Metropolis. To me, it sounds a lot like, and maybe this is just me thinking they're kind of rebooting, starting a new universe. It sounds a lot like Grant Morrison's Action Comics from the New 52, which was early days Superman. He has like a shirt with the symbol on it, but he still wears like jeans. So I'm interested in the idea. I do agree that it seems like what happened with Henry, obviously no one wants to see that, especially, a 6-week turnaround from, the celebration of him returning to all of a sudden being gone. But
welcome to DC.
If they really are doing a reboot, in comic terms, New 52 style, they could be, planting their seeds and threading the needle towards a crisis event movie, which could bring Henry back. So we'll see.
Yeah, and it's been noted that despite rumors, he and Gunn seem to be fine, and that he could show up elsewhere in the franchise is a part of this rumor we should note. Just like Jason Momoa might be stripping off the Aquaman stuff and putting on a Lobo makeup, Henry Cavill could show up other places in the franchise, either as a different version of Superman or as somebody else. So, Janelle, I know you are the biggest Snyder bro we got. How are you feeling about all this? You okay?
Oh my God. I'm so sad. I am so torn because I just idolize James Gunn, but yet I love Henry as Superman. So I just feel bummed. I'm just bummed. I was really excited about James Gunn getting in the game and being heading all of this up, and I have so much faith in him. But this was not how I wanted it. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I asked for. I just thought that they were going to keep maybe just a select 2 or 3 things. And I really thought that our Superman would be there. Not saying that I don't want other Supermen, though. I want all the super fam jam, as many as possible. I think that now that I've read the comic books and I know these other characters, I'm yo, let's go. Everybody needs to see how awesome these other super fellows are. But I wish that we had both. I wish that we could have made that work somehow.
Y'all are in fire in the comments today.
I know the comments are amazing today.
Yeah, people are
even
y'all petty too.
Comic book is hot right now.
The comic book is hot. In the comments, if you're just listening to the podcast, we had somebody who said, Treesus, our friend Treesus said, plot twist, they can cast Luke Hemsworth as the new Superman.
Oh no!
I think you meant Liam. Or, I don't know if you meant. I think you meant Liam, but Luke would be funny too. But I think you meant Liam from The Witcher, which I got the joke, and that was still hilarious. So, who can keep these Hemsworths straight, right? But that's y'all are so funny and petty. We love our Comic Book Nation commenters, you guys. If you're just listening to the podcast, take a minute, try out the live show. It's actually we have a lot of fun here. But all right, we've all mourned. I know Spencer, we didn't get to you, but I know you're as the secret moderator of Snyder, kind of restore the Snyderverse accounts. I know you're not okay. Yes! I'm just kidding. I know Spencer is not a Snyder bro. If I remember correctly, you're not a Snyder bro.
What's that? So excited.
I like Man of Steel a lot, and I think Batman versus Superman is good until the fight, and then the fight kind of ruins it. And I liked the Snyder cut. There's other things around those movies that aren't the movies that are unpleasant.
That's what I meant. I was just trying to soften in there that I know you didn't like the toxic community. That's okay. Janelle will fight the entire Star Wars fandom someday, so you're good.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. But yeah, Henry Cavill is going to be all right? Yeah, Matt has it in here. He has other stuff coming. Do you want to just talk about? We're going to push that all later and just get to how Henry Cavill's doing all right, or you want to do it now?
That's up to you. However you want. I don't want to kill the flow because I know we got a couple other.
Yeah, we got to get through some other things. So
James Gunn won't stop tweeting.
Yeah, we could have more coming in the minute because our jobs are now just to not only follow Kevin Smith around to see everything he briefs, but also James Gunn. So it gets to be work when you're stalking somebody constantly. It is a lot of work. So other things happening are we've clarified that Batman is indeed going to be a big part of the new DCEU, but it won't be Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves' Batman. They will be their own thing, both. James Gunn straight out came out and slaughtered somebody's tweet suggesting or somebody's news report suggesting otherwise. And then Matt Reeves came off the top rope and piled on just to, knock that down. So the Batman is still its own thing. Ta-Nehisi Coates and J.J. Abrams' Black Superman movie is apparently still in the works somewhere in this whole apparatus. That's one J.J. Abrams thing I think we're still going to get. And Kevin Smith put out something interesting that, has gotten a lot of attention. It seems to be popular or just at least intriguing to a lot of fans, which is he believes that James Gunn is working off an image, which is the Challenge of the Super Friends, which is an old Super Friends cartoon, but it's basically the Legion of Doom versus the Justice League, and it's an image of them. It's like one of the first comic book promotional images of like, two teams of people like running at each other. And he compared it to like, Civil War eventually doing something like that. But he's saying this could be DC's time to kind of knock that out as they build up an actual team of heroes we know with villains that are, significant enough, and having them all clash, which if we're not, I mean, before we get to Crisis and Kingdom Come, just pulling off like a Civil War level thing, that's not even Civil War, just war between Justice League and evildoers would be, I mean, that'd be impressive for the DC franchise, right? Like small steps, small expectations. So I wouldn't be mad at that.
Well,
Man, I would just love. Oh, go ahead.
That's why James Gunn's Superman, for lack of a better term, year 2 Superman is a fine idea. That's a building block. You can build off of that towards forming the Justice League, towards this image, and that's the advantage that James has as having worked in the Marvel machine for so many years. Is he knows how they've operated. He knows how to thread these things and build them towards other things, and he knows how to plant seeds in movies that will pay off in other movies. Because I mean, look, Thanos was in Guardians of the Galaxy because they needed him to be for Infinity War eventually. So, I think the man knows what he's doing, even if we don't always like seeing how the pieces fall apart sometimes.
Yeah. I have to address something real quick. So number one, Comic Book has another great comment, because forget Crisis on Infinite Earths. DC needs to prove it can handle a crisis on one Earth. I agree. But also, I just want them to I want Tower of Babel. Like, that's the big fight thing I want. I just want Batman taking down the Justice League and seeing all the ramifications of that. And like that would be so fun. That's something we would see in Marvel's movieverse, right? Because that's the kind of thing you'd see them build to. It wouldn't have to be Endgame. You could have these mini events that set trajectories for characters for long times afterwards. But also, Jesus, I love you. But please do not bring back Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern, because that was
never. No.
Please don't do that.
No.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, no.
I can't even get my HBO Max Green Lantern series off the ground. Please don't put that into things. So anyway,
just to kind of follow up with what you said, though, I think the DC animated movie Tower of Babel is something that provided a blueprint for how this image of Challenge of the Super Friends and Tower of Babel don't have to be mutually exclusive, because who's going to take that information to try to take out the Justice League besides, the Legion of Doom? So I think you could build up to that thing, and it would be great and interesting. Actually, you now got me thinking, Matt, you got me going off the tangent, but it would be a twist in a superhero movie to have superheroes getting targeted by a team of supervillains. But the key to what's going to get them really hurt is from one of their own, Batman, the most infallible, popular DC superhero, really effing up this time and giving the villains the edge to hurt his friends. And what that would be, I mean, that'd be an interesting story, because the great drama of that story is like, what happens to these characters as friends and colleagues during and after all of this, right? And if we lead into a fail-safe story, oh my God.
I'm just saying, but that's what DC can do. And I agree with Spencer. This kind of approach is a really good jumping off point. And yes, I am sad that, I like Cavill Superman. I don't really feel like he ever actually got the vehicle that I wanted him to get. I like Man of Steel. It's not like my favorite movie of all time, but I like Man of Steel. But like, I never really thought, I was looking forward to Man of Steel 2. Because that's when we were really going to get, okay, we've established him. He's in this world. The characters are here. Let's move. Let's do some really cool stuff. And we never got that. And so that's a bummer. But, I'm more bummed that he's not a Witcher anymore than he is a Superman.
And for everybody who criticizes, like, Henry Cavill was always about the long-term performance plan of getting from the Superman we saw in Man of Steel to the hopeful, kind of optimistic Superman that we all knew. And like Matt said, it's a tragedy that we're never going to get that. But all right, that's the latest on our DC drama. I think this is a good time because we hit that nice 40-minute mark. If you're watching on Paramount Plus, we always give them the option to cut off the show into a nice shorter version for you guys. But if you're jumping out now, be sure to listen to the full podcast. We're on your podcast platforms, and you can catch us on our Comic Book Nation YouTube page. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to do a review of Avatar, The Way of Water. Spoiler-free review, because we know it's early. Matt's going to review Witcher, Blood Origin. And me and Spencer are going to talk a little bit about the new Margot Robbie movie that's probably going to be getting some awards consideration. And it's Comic Book Nation, so we have comics. Be sure to stay tuned in for all of that when we come back. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast show of comicbook.com. If you're just joining us now after the break, we spent the first half of the show talking about the new trailers for the Barbie movie and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Plus, we went through the continuing changing situation at DC Studios with a new Superman movie being announced and Henry Cavill also confirming he is no longer Superman. If you missed any of that after the live show, you can just rewatch it, and please do, because we have some pretty exciting, fun stuff to talk about. Now, for the second half of the show, as I said before the break, we are going to start with our review of Avatar: The Way of Water. I mean, my hand motion, I'm just trying to get in that Jim Cameron mind state of giving people, something visual. Was that 3D enough? I don't know. Anyway, so I went back into Avatar. This was a pivotal movie for me. I don't usually do like biography portions of the show, but when the first movie came out, it was right when I started getting into this industry. I was just starting to get like really serious kind of response working and building ScreenRant.com at the time. And we got invited to the preview screening for Avatar. And I remember taking my wife and going all the way from Philadelphia to New York. We made a whole day of it. And we went to the theater on 34th Street and we saw it. And yeah, I just knew that was going to be a milestone. And I started writing from that point that like James Cameron was going to do something nuts. It was going to change cinema. The 3D was incredible. And then I saw the full movie. And while like everybody else, I have the usual criticisms about, taking Dances with Wolves and Pocahontas and all those same stories and just turning them blue. I also did like the world of Pandora and some of the characters that we got to know, and the whole experience of seeing Avatar in the theater did really kind of reinforce why I love movies, right? There's just certain times you can love movies for story, but there's something about the spectacle and getting in a theater and seeing something you can only experience in a movie theater that does always have that movie magic. And James Cameron has provided that numerous times over my life, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, my parents at 9 years old dragged me out to see T2, which screwed me up for life, but they wanted because of how revolutionary that was visually. And Titanic, I mean, half our high school, spent most of the last years of high school making out in Titanic. So that goes without saying, but Avatar did it again. So yeah, it's been 13 years. A lot's changed. Avatar unfortunately gave rise to the rise and eventual fall of that crap 3D run that we all had to live through in the 2010s, where all the B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way down to Z attempts at making more 3D movies never really captured that Avatar sensation again. And now we come back to it 13 years later, and we're waiting for Jim Cameron to wow us with underwater, photorealistic 3D that keeps up with today's technology. Is this possible? Or do we still care about Pandora? These are all the questions on the table. All right. So here's what I will say. Avatar: The Way of Water. I mean, right from the beginning, you're just like, well, crap. Cameron's did it again. Because, yes, visually, this movie is, I would say, 95% of everything it was purported to be. The 3D, I saw it on a wonderful Dolby IMAX screen, and the 3D it's uncanny how good it's gotten in immersive kind of 3D. No matter where, I even went to the bathroom at one point, and no matter if you're walking down the stairs, you remember in old 3D, you had to like sit and kind of sit still and do that whole thing. No, like, I mean, no matter where you're moving, like even if you're walking in the theater, this looks spectacular and immersive. Cameron even makes high frame rate work for pretty much, I would call it like the first official time ever that I've ever seen a movie in high frame rate and been like, yeah, I'm okay with this. And yeah, not you, Hobbit, not you, not talking to you. Talking about Avatar. So that works. I would say why I said 95% is there are times where the high frame rate still kind of gets a little wonky because certain shots he had to switch between it, and that gets noticeable a couple times. But you're talking about like small blemishes on a masterpiece canvas, right? Because visually, like, yeah, and it does kind of a same beat as the first film of, you know, when you finally get to that first moment where this takes you underwater, it is a big, obvious James Cameron, like, strap yourselves in, the ride's going, like, moment. But that effect is, it's amazing what they do with just kind of underwater effect in this. And I didn't feel like I was drowning at any point, except for one point. There is one exciting sequence that makes you scared as crap to be underwater. But other than that, like, yeah, it wasn't too scary, but it was revolutionary. As far as the story now, I think the story, and we talked about this in comic book offices, is split because I think it depends on like a lot. I think a lot of this will depend on where you are in life and like what your situation is. Since the first Avatar, I've had kids. I'm raising a family. I've gone through any number of struggles in that department, from you know who my kids are and their identity, and you know whether they may have challenges in fitting in and things like that, to just parenting and doing things as a couple, as parents, all that stuff. So this one did hit me in the dad bone very hard. There was a lot in this movie, especially with father and son stuff that is so on the point, timely for me that I can't help but have a bias. I mean, there's just a simple conversation between wife and husband about how hard the father's being on a son, and the father being like, well, that's like my job as father, and Natiri kind of having to work with him, and that are just like carbon copies of stuff that happen in my house now. So I have that bias, and this family story did hit me much harder than the kind of Dances with Wolves story of the first one. There is, and those things really worked for me. Now, there are some overall story things that are still a little wonky in this, I will say. Jake Sully's motivation and Natiri in this both aren't really the strongest written characters. It's clearly the kids and some of the returning characters like Quaritch or, Sigourney Weaver's character Kiri, who are kind of more the focus of this. But considering where we're going in the larger franchise, I don't think that's unintentional. I think that's because, like Dune, we need to build up. The young generation is going to become the focus of the story. And so I'm not too mad at that, but there are certain beats in the middle where it does feel like it slows down a little bit. That said, the end part is visually more exciting and powerful than the first film. And I want to go back to Pandora in 2 years. I want to go back. And I want to kind of keep seeing where this saga goes. Spencer, I'm going to let Spencer kind of, because he's the other person here who saw it, and I want to hear his thoughts, and then we'll maybe touch on some of the, without spoiling, some of the silly, funnier or just silly kind of things about it that we can all maybe laugh about. So, well, Spencer, what was your take?
I will address that first. I think it was Norin that said Avatar is unspoilable, where I think one of my favorite things about this new movie is that I've told people things out of context from the movie, and they don't know if I'm joking or not. And it's things like, there's a scene where the teenage son is talking to a whale, and they're both talking about how nobody likes them. And you're like, am I making that up? Does that really happen? It does. And it sounds ridiculous when I say it, but it works. And that's what's so crazy about these movies. I don't know that Avatar: The Way of Water will convince anyone that didn't like the first one that they're going to enjoy this. I have seen quite a few people that have said that, who don't like the 2009 film, that do like this one. I'm a little surprised by that, because it is very similar. I think the first, two acts of the movie are very similar to the first two acts of the original Avatar. It's you're on the run, you're integrating into a new tribe, you're learning their new ways, and it's all build up. Cameron knows what he's doing when he's telling the story. He's layering everything and building it towards that third act, which is his real, the set piece that he clearly wanted to display for all of us, but needed the first 2 hours of the film to build toward. And there's, shifting gears, there's no way to undersell the visuals. It looks amazing. It's, imagine the photoreal effects that Weta was able to produce with the Planet of the Apes movies, and times it by 10. It's the Na'vi look real. These places look real. These animals look real. That shot of the hands tying the lasso on the little seahorse thing. It's breathtaking, and the
yeah, it's a weird comment, but hands are really a standout in this movie. Like when you see hands, you're like, holy crap, that was like
hands and hair, like that shot of the Bailey Bass character with the hair, where like you'll just see little strands sticking out. You're like, it looks. No one thinks to do that in some of these other heavy CG character movies where just there's random twigs of hair sticking out of your head that sells the illusion of the reality. And I think perhaps my biggest beef with the film is that Zoe Saldana's Neytiri is sort of sidelined. She doesn't get to do quite as much, and then she gets a lot to do kind of in the last hour, but she's not in it a lot. And it's if you're down for Avatar, you've got to see this movie on the biggest screen possible in 3D. He did it again. Don't bet against James.
The comic book account is clearly not. It is not in pro Avatar.
We have a lot of anti-Avatar sentiment in this company. I'm not outing any names. Some people in the comments who are fans of our podcast universe, you already know there's some other people on some of the other shows that are really
can't spoil a plot
this.
if it doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Jeez.
No, but this one,
but we're not watching this movie for plot. We're watching it for the visual spectacle. The advancement of the technology that James has put together and made to tell the story. Even if the story is a B- or a C+, the visuals make it more interesting. The visuals are what sell you on the world. I'm not going to read Avatar as a book. I want to see it as a movie. That's why this exists.
Well, Treesus asked, would we still be interested in this movie without the visual spectacle? And people ask that, but I think that's I think that's a kind of a logic trap, because if you take away the visuals, like I'm watching this to see all of these story beats. I can watch any movie about the family. I can go watch The Fabelmans or that new Noah Baumbach movie that I forget, Smoke or whatever it's called. I forget what it's called, but anyway, White Smoke. I can watch any of those. This is award season. I can see that anywhere, right? I can't see it with alien blue people on this fantastical planet that's been so thoroughly plotted out. That's the whole key of Avatar, of being these people who we can never be in this place we can never go to. So without the visuals, that's just nothing. It's just me watching another, like I said, like award season movie.
But would that be a better experience? I guess is the question underneath. Would that be watching a better movie?
I'm watching award season movies left and right now. It's award season, and I am part of the Nashville Film Critics group, and I got to watch all these award season movies. And no, it's not.
Okay, I think that's the underlying thing. Because not every movie has visuals like this or is in this world, but would arguably be better. I think that's what some people are. So I think that's what that argument is saying.
I don't think you can ever. I think that's a fallacy that people make up that you can't ever really prove, because also, what's the point of movies?
Well, you can't prove it. It's opinion, but if your opinion, what is your opinion? Your opinion is saying no. But my
opinion is you need both. I need all of this. I need to see deep, emotional, performance-driven award seasons movies, but I also need to have in my lifetime several times where I go out to a theater and see something that just, even if it's just visually blows my freaking mind. And there's a movie that we're going to talk about later that next, actually, that kind of also explores this very much, which is a weird week to do them both in.
But also, the whole point of these Avatar movies, and especially this one, is that, plot is overrated. This is a movie where emotional beats are the core of it. The visuals are the core of it. Like, we're not going for plot. Like, don't put so much importance on plot. Like, who cares? Like, I want to see a train flip. I want to see a space whale crash into a giant ship. I want to see avatars, swimming under the water. I want to see avatars communing with their god in ways that we cannot. It's about this unique world. It's about this. It's about experiencing it in the theater. It's just pure cinema. There's no other way to explain it.
So, by the way,
Yeah.
I'm not saying this. I haven't seen it, so I'm coming at this. I don't have a dog in this race. I'm also not like a big Avatar person in general. I was just curious. I think there is validity to the question, but I think it's all subjective because at the end of the day, it's really what you're looking for in this. I do have to say, I think mostly you two are at odds with the comic book account.
Comic book clearly hates this. And people are asking about the dialogue. I mean, like Spencer says, this movie's weird in the sense that it doesn't feel like a movie with a script and dialogue. It feels like you're watching alien people try to make friends, and the kids especially, and they have all those awkward beats of trying to talk to each other.
Sure.
And the kids talk like teenagers. They call each other, they fight. They back up off my sister, bro. And things like that. And they rumble. And it just feels like you're watching, you're on National Geographic. And this is some, I can't think of that line of study of what's the line of college? Anthropology. It's like an anthropological trip. And you're just on the thing, watching it all, right? And just learning about them. So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a weird sensation. I would just say I think me and Spencer are saying the same thing. It is something you need to go out to theaters to see. That's all I'm going to say. That's my take. Okay. Come at me at Kofi Outlaw.
And then he's got tickets. Okay.
I can't wait. Oh, I love comic book. If you all don't know about comic book, we have this rancor from people early on, and then everybody will flip, and then it'll be we got Mandela. Nobody will ever admit. There was this other timeline where everybody hated stuff. See Andor. Okay. Anyway, so we say go see it. That's our opinion.
I had Spencer, one more thing about the movie.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of jokes about the unobtainium. Just you wait and see how they replace unobtainium in this movie.
I put that article
up. Middle finger to everyone that has made unobtainium jokes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I posted that article right before walking in here about what the new MacGuffin is. There's a whole new MacGuffin, baby. And it's whale related, so strap in. Yeah. Can I tell you the new MacGuffin has to do with whales? And yeah. So, and yeah, it's pretty rough. I mean, right, Cameron's let's go on. We're getting bogged down. All right. So the next movie, and I think we're just going to move through this quick because I don't know if enough people have seen this, but Spencer and I both got the chance to see Babylon, which is the new movie starring Margot Robbie from Damien Chazelle. I always butcher his last name.
Hey, I know her.
Yeah. Anyway, it's the new movie from the guy who made Whiplash. And
I'm hoping to make this make sense to me because I watched this trailer right before the show and I have no idea what this is about.
I never watched a trailer for it. I just jumped in and just started watching it. And it's hard to even explain what this movie is about.
Okay.
But Spencer and I had a lot of thoughts.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it's about.
So the best I could sum it up is this is another, and there have been a lot of these lately, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a movie that's kind of examining the movie making business, and it starts, way back in the era of the silent films, and it kind of moves up through how cinema progressed into talkies and then, Technicolor, and kind of what the role of different people in Hollywood was across the span of time and how they changed. Like Margot Robbie's character is this very kind of, big personality girl who's from the bottom, who wants to be a star. Brad Pitt's character is the most famous kind of actor of the silent film era. The character played by, I don't want to butcher the main character guy's name. Diego Calva is this, young, Spanish guy who starts out just being a hand at these famous parties who gets into the film business. And so it's about their lives and their careers over time, but it's really a movie about film itself. it's very this meta movie about film and filmmaking itself and how things have in kind of me and Spencer were trying to get to the theme of this last night. It was crazy. But kind of how film and making films can literally eat people up. It can eat up your mind, your life, your spirit. But the outcome, these things that last on screen forever and create this magic, how is it or is it not like worth all of that, you know, pain and struggle and some of the really dark things that go around Hollywood, Los Angeles, and in this process. So it's nuts, man. It is really nuts. Spencer, that was my best attempt. You have anything you can tack on to help us explain this?
I mean, it's a movie about the transition from the silent era of movies to talkies, but it's also sort of tearing down the, you know, mythical wall of Hollywood as like this bastion of humanity and the arts, which is to say that it's all these people, you know, bending over and breaking themselves to create these memorable pieces of art, and then they spend the whole rest of their evenings going to like the most outlandish parties you've ever seen and basically destroying themselves. So it's a movie about how I think pouring yourself into art and creating these things is unhealthy, and it is interesting that it's sort of a takedown of Hollywood in that way. How do we feel about the visual effects in Babylon? Treasus asks. There are some. This is This is the only movie you're going to see all year that within the first 90 seconds an elephant poops all over a guy. So,
yeah. It's also the only movie, and you might have expected this from Avatar too, but it's the only movie where you're going to see a CGI elephant go, stampeding through an orgy. So, you know.
Yeah, it's. But I also think the another thing that's interesting about this movie is that it seems to have like a theme running through it about how not only Hollywood at this time, but I think Hollywood now is sort of built on exploiting and using women and minorities to like make white dudes richer. That's a big theme throughout the movie, even though it's not like, you know, hammering that over your head a lot. It's definitely there. I think the problem that I have with the movie is that there's parts where it really works, and then there's parts that are just like so over the top that it's like too on the nose. And this movie really has the disadvantage of having come out in the same year as both The Fabelmans and Nope, which are movies about the movie industry and movies about visual storytelling that are using a lot of subtlety and are making it more personal. And the fact that this one is so over the top and very, you know, kind of Great Gatsby-esque kind of makes it not as interesting as both of those.
I haven't seen Fabelmans yet. It's on my screening list, but I actually like this a lot more than Nope, because this reminded me of like Gosford Park, things like that.
Sure.
Movies that kind of like are good, or some early Paul Thomas Anderson, like Boogie Nights, movies that move through like these characters and in these worlds, and at a very kind of kinetic, high energy pace to them that almost becomes like very manic or stressful. And there are parts of this that do go like that go from like feeling like drunkenness or some kind of weird hallucinatory dream to feeling like you're on coke, like the characters, and all amped up. There's some of the sequences I think are just so amazing. There's a sequence about trying to capture sound for the first time when they're trying to do sound. That is just like Spencer said, it is like in and of itself so over the top and exhausting emotionally. But that's kind of the point, right? How much do they have to get this one scene of this movie? And you see, there's some pretty drastic things that happen by the time they finally get it, that it's crazy. And if you've ever been on a movie set, that is what it's like, you know, spending all of your day and all of your energy and all these resets and all this stuff to get like 30 seconds of some menial piece of the film, like a person walking into a store. And so I think it's interesting. I think the more you know about film and Hollywood and filmmaking, the more you'll get out of it. It's going to be intense for the average viewer, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. I just thought it was funny because of the subject matter, and Margot Robbie, who's also doing Barbie. I mean, this movie is her, and I would love to talk to her about, was this like free therapy catharsis for you? Because there is so many ways in which she is kind of like, I feel like, striking back at her own time in Hollywood, her position as like, being positioned as a bombshell and a sex symbol, and how she kind of like internally may feel about a lot of that stuff is inherent in this character somewhere. So anyway, Babylon, it was crazy. It was good to check out. Thank you, Spencer. I like, getting to chat some award seasons movies. This one was sticking with me. Matt, take us back in from Margot Robbie supremacy to the other DC guy, Henry Cavill supremacy.
Yeah, let's.
What's going on in The Witcher?
So before I jump into the Witcher Blood Origin review, we'll kind of address some of the Henry Cavill of it all, because of course everyone knows, as referenced in the comments earlier, that Liam Hemsworth is going to be coming in as Geralt in season 4. Season 3 is already, production wise, is already filmed, and Cavill will be Geralt throughout that entire season. But then of course the discourse became why he was leaving, and then the Superman of it all came into it, and then now things become a little more clear, because last night a report broke that he was in talks to star as well as produce a Warhammer movie or project for Amazon, but Amazon had not acquired the global rights yet to Games Workshop's Warhammer 40K universe. Then today a report hits that yes, that deal was sealed, so now it's official, and then Cavill is now set to star and executive produce this project, and essentially what they're calling a Warhammer 40K cinematic universe.
We're still debating if this guy is like the geekiest, man. He is on.
I mean, look, he's played Superman, Geralt, as he's also, of course, he's going to be in oh my god, Warhammer 40K, but no one knows who he is yet. But then also it was mentioned in the comments I forget sometimes that he's also attached to the Highlander reboot. So like, yeah, dude might be one of the geekiest people in Hollywood, which is cool, and he likes cool franchises. I mean, the thing about Warhammer is that, one, it is ripe for a franchiseification. Like Amazon has shown, they are willing to shell out a ton of money for these huge IPs that have so much potential for world building. And this is no different. But the biggest difference between like Lord of the Rings and even like you've seen what they've done with The Boys and expanding that so far. But like the difference with Lord of the Rings, Warhammer 40K is very much is a huge thing in books, in the tabletop space, and in the video game space. It's had a lot of adaptations, but it has not had a lot of adaptations in the TV and movie side. So you really are kind of like, you have this entire world, and now you have a very genuine fan of the franchise, kind of trying to help spearhead this. It's a good thing. I think it's Amazon's willing to shell out money. And by the way, the thing about the 40K universe is like just about everyone's terrible. Like it is not like Cavill is probably not going to play someone that is this kind of altruistic person in this universe. This world, 40K, is very much everyone's kind of bad. Actually not kind of, they're terrible. They're terrible. This is a state of things that, like, to keep interstellar travel open, they essentially feed 1,000 people a day to this dying person that they see as a god, and that is how they keep interstellar travel open. And if they don't feed and continue to keep that open, they can't travel, and they're all cut off from everybody. So like, that's just what they're willing to do. This is a very dark world. But the thing is, visually, like if you've ever seen some of the miniatures, if you've ever seen someone play Warhammer and they're playing some of the various factions, which there are a ton, this is one of the coolest looking worlds. Like Space Marines look cool, and there's like so many different variations of Space Marines, but that's just like one faction. There's like tanks that the Battle Sisters, right, have like tanks that like are church organs that are tanks roaming across the battlefield. This is a really cool world. So if they do this right and Amazon's willing to put the money in, this could very much stick out as a distinct thing in their life.
I think you need to send people to Google this. This is blowing my mind. It's like you explaining cable to me. and we're talking about Avatar and a kid talking to a whale is weird. Yeah. Okay.
This is cool.
Crazy.
It's a cool world. And like, there is really, I would be, if I was a Warhammer 40K like hardcore fan, I'd be excited because you've seen what an enthusiastic person and people who are into the Witcher lore, because like the showrunner, like Lauren Hisrich, is a huge fan of, Andrzej Sapkowski's books, and Henry was a huge fan of the games coming in, and they've done a lot with the Witcher. So like, if you give them, yeah, exactly. It's a perfect segue. So Blood Origin takes things. There is no Henry Cavill in this. It is very much a prequel story that is setting up the conjunction of the spheres, which is essentially like one of the biggest events, the biggest event, I would say, probably in Witcher lore. It's how all these monsters came to be in this world. It's why there's Witchers. Like, there's all this stuff connected to it. So this is going to set the stage for that. It's 4 episodes. It was originally 6. My biggest thing is I really enjoy, this is very much a classic, like, we need to kind of bring this ragtag group of heroes together, of people together, not even heroes, but like people together for kind of a common cause. And so the first 2 episodes are really kind of like assembling that team. And then the next 2 episodes are really kind of getting to be with that team. And it's one of those things where it's kind of its biggest strength and its biggest weakness, because I think actually the sweet spot probably would have been 5 episodes, but 4 episodes, you're moving. Like you're meeting these people, and they do a really good job of establishing several of them. There are a couple who kind of get the short end of the stick a bit, but the ones that like you really gravitate to, they're awesome. Like I really enjoyed this group of characters and seeing them on this journey. And then it's just unfortunate that like you don't get to really sit in that world with them all together very long, because then by the time we hit the 4th kind of finale episode, some of them are also kind of going separate ways because they're doing different things. So it's just, that would have been my one, but it moves so quick and you're never bored, and it like leaves you wanting more. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that. And there's a lot of divisiveness about that, the length itself, amongst other reviews and stuff. But I enjoyed the characters. I mean, Fial and Ayla are great, seeing their kind of dynamic and relationship form. You do learn some really big things about how Witchers came about, who was the first Witcher, and it's pretty, the process, the Trial of the Grasses, as we talked about with the main Witcher series, has hinted at that, but like here it's like you really see kind of the barbaric nature of how that all came about. So they do a really good job there. Prepare for everyone to love Meldoff, who is a dwarf with a hammer named Gwen. There's a whole backstory to that, and people are just going to adore her by the end. She's amazing in every scene. I wish there was more of her in the series. And there's monsters, of course, not as many as you probably expect, but again, this is set in the past, so we're not where we kind of expect monsters just to be around every corner as is present day. I enjoyed this. I thought it was really interesting. These are a lot of new characters, and I thought they did a really good job of establishing them pretty quickly. I would have liked to have more time. I would have probably been okay with 1 more episode. You keep the pace, and it's a trade-off. But I really enjoyed it. I think people are going to get a kick out of it, and it does tether enough to the main, timeline. There are going to be some things they build off of that it doesn't feel like, oh, you can just disregard it. I hope they do that, especially with like characters like Minnie Driver's character and things like that. But I enjoyed it. I think you should definitely check it out. You can check out more thoughts from me on our YouTube channel and on the full review on ComicBook.
You have more. All right. There you go. All right. Now, don't stop talking now. Take us out. Our last segment of the day will be comic books. And so what did we read this week?
All right. So we're going to dive into I think this is a whole episode of surprises or quirkiness. Can we describe this as quirky? So Danger Street #1 is the new Tom King DC Black Label series. And I kind of went in a little bit cold. Like I was excited. I remember reading like the initial announcement, but then I kind of stayed away from everything else. Like I didn't really look at previews. I didn't really look at more interviews. I was just kind of trying to I want to go in kind of cold. And because of that, I think that this issue worked for me, but also I was a bit confused. Like it takes a minute for everything to kind of start to coalesce and come together. And really this is a mystery and also kind of tale about heroes trying to kind of raise their level. You know, they want to be Justice League tier, and they kind of go about it in an interesting way, and then it all horribly backfires. This book is also, it lives up to the Black Label I will say reputation of being a bit brutal at times. It's just like, oh, hey, that happened. Like someone just lost someone. There's a lot of blood there. Like it's that kind of thing. I am intrigued by the mystery. There is a vintageness to everything. It's hard to talk about this book without, even if I got in the spoilers, it's still kind of hard to talk about this book.
So it's the Tom King book.
I mean, look, there is some of that. I know what I'm getting into when I read a Tom King
book.
Look,
I feel like you're just going in back. You're trying to build up like a thing.
No,
here, but,
like I'm not even conflicted. I enjoyed it, but there's still a lot of pieces missing for me. So I don't even really know how I quite feel about this. I kind of have to see how things play out a little bit. So I'm conflicted. I don't know really where I sit with this. I'm interested to see what you guys think.
This was an issue 1. I have no desire for issue 2. That's what I'll say. And you know, we've loved Tom King. We love Tom King's Batman. Yeah. I even enjoyed Bat and Cat for trying to keep up for what that was all about. Rorschach was all right, but like this is just getting too far out there to me. I just didn't enjoy this book from top to bottom. Danger Street, the title, didn't even really factor into me as like a really strong part of the book. I had to like literally go back through this like twice just to read it. The kind of heightened fairy tale narration and all that just made it hard to keep track of who was who and like what was going on. And like, again, there's just too many storylines happening that don't necessarily grab my attention and make me know why the hell I should care about even one of them. And even the main one that seems like it could be the most comic booky and most accessible, it just seems flimsy and really silly. Like it lost me completely with the whole conversation about these characters, these B-level characters trying to get in the Justice League and like saying, okay, well, here's our plan. We're going to do this and do that. And what they kind of lay out, I'm just like, this just sounds like a stupid contrivance that you know is going to go wrong. Like that you within the universe should know is a stupid overwrought plan. So yeah, I didn't enjoy this. And as somebody said, there's one page that we get to that is just so long with dialogue that is just rhetoric being thrown at you and ultimately is not even that important. Like I had a bigger question about one of the drawings in that panel that follows that whole speech, which made me flip back and forth through the book and confused the hell out of me and has still left me confused, that I didn't even care about the speech that I just spent all that time reading. But I also turned off my iPad the first time I got to that thing and was like, well, I'm out. I'm going to sleep. And like rolled over in bed and went to sleep.
Are you talking about, so are you talking about Ryder's speech in the middle of
yes,
the camera?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hit that page and I was like, well, I'm out, and then went to sleep. And I had to wake up like later and like when I was fresh, it was like, okay, let's read this whole thing. And again, at the end of that scene, my whole question was like, well, I don't care about the speech. What is this one picture I'm looking at? Like, who is he doing this for? And why do they, look like, and all that. So I don't need to ever come back to this. If I'm forced to because of Matt's agenda, I will. But I'm not hating on Tom King. I enjoy Tom King, but this just wasn't it for me. So that's me.
Janelle, did you like this?
No, not at all. Not even a little. I feel so bad. But I feel so much better after everything that Kofi said, because I was like, maybe I'm just not getting it. Like maybe it's me a problem. And I'm so glad that it's not a me problem. I have no freaking clue what was happening, and I didn't care to try to go back and understand. I was like, I just got to get through this. And that's not a great feeling. I know. The only thing I recognized maybe like 2 words, and like I was like, oh, it's just the names of the kids. Like, what are we doing?
Okay, I still don't. There's parts of this book every time they would say the kids' names, it would take me immediately out of it. Like I understand.
I don't know how many times. Yeah, I don't know how much time Tom King spends in the streets. Like I got made fun of by saying ops earlier in this episode, but like
no, I just thought it was funny.
I entire books like this.
I agree. It took me out of it. So Janelle, so you are not interested in following this.
Please no. Please
Spencer,
no.
did you get to Spencer? Did you check this one out?
I haven't, but from what everyone is saying, it sounds a lot like, you know, I like Tom King. I loved his Batman run, but this seems like the coin flip of his work, which is that, you know, sometimes it's so ambitious that it doesn't land. And wait for the trade. Briarwood says, yeah, I might do that, because that's the problem, is that a lot of his works are written in that way. They're written for the big picture, and when you only get one chapter, it's confusing and it doesn't make sense, and you don't want to see the rest of it. So
I am curious. I'm curious about where it goes, but I will just, spoiler alert, we won't be covering this for Mysterio. I'll put that on me, and I'll report back if any of the how things
Matt,
come back.
I'm always open. If you read the next issue and you know something crazy happens, that will, like, you know, put it in front of me. But I'm waiting on you. I'm not going to seek it out.
I don't see that.
All right. What about our next one?
Real quick. Yeah, the Marvel to something far different. Monica Rambeau, Photon #1. This is a first of a 5-issue miniseries, and it's just really, you know, establishing where Monica is at this point in time. She's still trying. This is very much kind of a slice of life issue. It really kind of dives into where she fits in with the superhero community, where she sees herself. There is a little bit of touching on the Captain Marvel, you know, mantle and things like that. And then also just a lot of family stuff. And I think actually the family stuff was the stuff I enjoyed the most out of this. There's a big kind of fight, a bombastic fight with like Spider-Man, and I think that's fun, and it looks cool. I actually really dug the art in this issue. But I think actually the stuff that resonated for me more was the family stuff, because that's actually a side of Monica that we haven't really had a chance to explore a ton in other books. And as she references in this issue, she is typically brought in as like the big gun, because she's like, her power set is so unique and powerful that she's kind of brought in as that, and she's used to taking command. We even saw some of that in was it the Thunderbolts? No, was it the new Thunderbolts?
Yeah, it was the new Thunderbolts.
Yeah. So we saw some of that there. So it references kind of recent stuff. But yeah, I thought this was fine. I enjoyed this issue. I found a lot to like, but like it didn't necessarily go. I didn't come away going like, yeah, like people will just like want to jump in moving forward and see what's so cool about Monica. I'm kind of in the middle for that. But what'd you guys think?
I agree.
Janelle go first. I'm sorry, Spencer, go for it.
I was going to say, I think this is like a great starting point for people who maybe know the character from the MCU, maybe have a familiarity with her from there. It has enough of her, you know, past and teases of where she is in the Marvel comic universe right now, that it's a lot of fun. But I think what's really cool is in the artwork is they have some really great panel layouts where they aren't you know, page spreads, but they are panels that go across the entire page of her flying. Those are fantastic.
Yeah, it looks cool. It looks really cool.
Yeah, that was the best part. Go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry.
Agreed. No, it was the best part. But I mean, the art, gosh, look at that beautiful face. Like the eyes.
Awesome.
My gosh. Like, heck of a job on the artwork. Obviously, I'm a little more familiar with Photon, and I am so pumped to get any new information on her character. I feel like we're going to be seeing her more obviously in the MCU. So I love that. I don't have all the context of her being Captain Marvel or any of that, but it didn't mess me up. Like, I rolled with the punches. I like assumed, you know, the storyline. I could tell her struggle. And this was just an easy read for me and really enjoyable.
Kofi?
All right. Last but not least, I think Marvel is setting up for the Marvels next year. And this was a good way to kind of, again, we've seen this before. We saw this recently with, who was it that they also did? That we were just talking about kind of the same thing.
Oh, Miss Marvel this year.
The Miss Marvel team ups. Yeah. So they're just kind of like, you know, Marvel is just they're throwing out some books to help people from the MCU get established in the comic book page and vice versa. So, and as in the comments, I wouldn't be surprised based on this release if, you know, in the Marvels, Monica gets the official Photon name. I don't think we'll see Spectrum. I think it'll be, although that's how they kind of presented it in WandaVision. That'd be confusing as hell if they did that. So hopefully it is all synced up. But it was just all right. It felt like a Marvel promotional piece for the character that they're going to be highlighting in the next year. So that's how I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. And then real quick before we leave, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths #7 is coming out, and it's going to kind of bring all this to a head. We haven't stayed along with Dark Crisis as long.
I don't know if Dark Crisis is staying along with Dark Crisis.
Okay, so as someone who really enjoyed 6, and 6 was awesome. 6 was kind of the big bombastic fight scene, and then Williamson kind of teased that 7 would be something actually a little bit different, a little bit more introspective, even though it does have big battles, but it would be something a little bit different. And I can't go into like spoilers and stuff because this isn't out yet, but I will say I really enjoyed this issue. I think for fans of the Nightwing kind of Deathstroke dynamic that has moved throughout this series, I think those fans will get a lot out of this issue. And I really enjoy the place that we leave things off. It sets up some interesting things down the line for DC's universe. So I came away with this really enjoying it. And I think as a whole, and you can say this about a lot of Crisis events, as a whole, I think it'll read really well. I think it's actually a really well put together event and how things move through. But I think just during the middle, some of that monthly issue stuff, it gets a little muddled. So I think it started really interesting and it ended really interesting. And so I will be interested to read it in trade. But that's comics.
All right, Batman Spawn's also out. We did some
that's right.
Capalla and Todd McFarlane. It's just all right though. All right, we got to get out of here, Matt. Yep. You on a tirade, but all right. So you done?
Yeah. We got to talk. We can't talk.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, so we're done for this week with Matt's agenda, and that'll bring us to the close of Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast show of comicbook.com. If you'd missed our intro, we are on your favorite podcast platforms, and you should subscribe and be able to listen to us at least every week when you're on your drive, at home, cooking, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. If you want to watch the show live, we invite you to every week. We have a great community here. Thank you, everyone, as usual, for showing up, from Teresa's to Brywood to YouTube, all in the game. Blue Cat Jen. I know I'm missing a lot of people, but we got to get out of here, and I'm just looking at the latest ones in front of my face. Sorry. Joker, Crow. Yeah, everybody. Thank you guys for showing up and participating. We love it. You guys keep us laughing and make the show so much fun on an interactive level. You can subscribe to Comic Book Nation's YouTube page, follow us on Twitter, and, of course, check out comicbook.com for more on all the content we're talking about, because we also go and write about all this stuff. So be sure to check us out. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in, and you can follow us all individually. As you see on the screen, I'm at Kofi Outlaw.
I'm at Matt Aguilar CB.
I am at Janelle Wheeler.
I'm at the Spencer Perry.
All right. See you guys next week, as we hopefully DC will settle down enough for us to rank our favorite movies of the year as we approach the Christmas holiday. We do have another show coming next week. So we'll be here for you guys over the Christmas holiday, and hope you guys take some time to tune in with us.
I got my no mug.
Otherwise, oh boy. Otherwise, this is Comic Book Nation, and we're out of here. Peace.
Bye.